Welcome to the special meeting of the Maypearl ISD Board of Trustees, April 14th, 2025. Quorum of the board is present. That meeting has been duly called, and the notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551. No rise for your
Pray, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day that you blessed us with. Just thank you for allowing us here to serve. Just ask you to be with us through this meeting. Just be with all of us. Just get home safe. Just
pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one, indivisible.
Any public comment? All right, discussion action items. A, consider proposal for engineer repair, primary schools, HVAC system.
All right, so you have the quote that is in the book there. I'm going to go ahead and pass around to you now. This is the design of the campos.
Sorry.
So what we have is a bid or quote from DMG, who's been doing all the work up to date as far as the repair work. And so you have the campus engineering report, and then it has the items there that's listed as far as what they're recommending. Essentially, my understanding is if you go over to the second page there, it's talking about outside air demolition. The contractor shall demo the existing outside air duct from the interior of 5 wall louvers in its entirety, including the plenum boxes and existing runouts to the return duct on the FCUs. And then the outside air new, which is the louver on the far southwest side of the building, is currently serving 5 FCUs. Once the demolition is complete, the 2 louvers located in the southwest side of the building will be duct to 4 FCUs. This will require a 1440 CFM of total outside air. Refers to the fan selection in Appendix A. And then the 3 remaining louvers will be duct to the FCUs. This will require a 1080 CFM of the total outside air. Refer to the fan selections in Appendix A. The outside air fans and ducts shall be mounted in the building trusses. The fans shall be controlled to a positive pressure of 0.1, and it says a water column via a pressure sensor located in the main duct. You can refer to Appendix B for that information. The Contractor shall provide a new 16-inch round or 16 by 14-inch ductwork from the existing outside air louver into the corridor. Provide enough duct to tap the SCU's runout, and this duct shall be insulated with mineral fiber duct wrap in the minimum R value of 6. Each SCU shall have a 10-inch round duct with spin-in fitting routed to the mixing box of the FCU. Each FCU shall have 360 CFM of outside air. The contractor shall provide new filter blocks downstream of the outside air connection points with more 13 filters once construction is completed. The contractor shall connect to the nearest 120 volt single phase electrical panel, provide 3/4 inch conduit, so forth. It talks about the breakers. And then Campos was informed by the district staff that the exhaust fans have been changed, informed by district staff that the exhaust fans have been changed, the meet code compliance, prior to the completion of this report. So my understanding is that in talking to Bill Flowers, who works, he's the owner and head of DMG, he has taken all the information. He worked with the company, sorry, it's so small, so I can see it. But working with DMG and also working with our controls company, and I'm trying to remember the name of that company. It's mentioned here in the writing. He is, of course I won't find it now, but I'm looking for it. But he basically worked with Enviromatics, I believe it is, and got together and they have come up with a plan on how they can put all of this together. Once this is, if approved, I'm told that they'll be able to get this started. This will probably take about 4 to 5 days. They like to work over a weekend, but then the other days they would work at evenings, with the understanding that they would clean up, try to prepare classes for the next day if there's any issues as far as classrooms and that kind of thing. They like to do the bulk of the work over a weekend, because they can start on a Friday night, work, have 7 different crews come in and work as many hours as possible, get the work done, but then whatever else is needed to be finished up would be finished up in the evenings, let's say Monday night or Tuesday night, that kind of thing. We don't have it exactly scheduled yet because we don't have it approved. But once it's approved, then he wants to go move forward as far as scheduling that piece. I tried to work with him as far as Easter break. His guys are, they come off of Easter. So that's
How long will it take to get the materials that they need for this?
my understanding is all of this stuff is already ordered. It's sitting there ready for us to just purchase it.
So, and on this estimate, from what I understand, they recommended before was this takes care of moving a larger amount of air down through the building, right, and into each classroom. And then I'm guessing the EMS control system, what it looks like is it pressure's too high or too low, something you can change. Is that correct?
So it's designed to where it's supposed to push more air through the system, so that what we have right now is that our system does not have the strength, for lack of a better term, the strength to push enough air, fresh air through. It's getting fresh air in, but it's not getting enough to push through to be able to push down the CO2 levels to the level we're trying to achieve. And so this system would allow us to do that.
It brings in more fresh outside air.
That's what it's doing, it's forcing fresh air in. And I guess filtering with those, that new filter racks. So do you have a question about like, during that construction process, they do it on a weekend, stop? Is the HVAC system gonna be inoperable for those 2 days of class?
My understanding is they're going to keep us always in a situation where we have air conditioning for those classes. It's just a matter of what they're planning on doing is going in and doing the final pieces that would allow us to operate during the day, but then they would go in and do the other pieces to finish out what needs to make all of this work.
This is pretty much the final step as of right now.
This is all we could do. And everything else that's in the report, on the campus report, at the beginning part of it, I didn't read that for you, we've already done this.
Yeah.
And this is all for the WPA portion of the building.
They mentioned any other contingencies or maybe pieces that we may need when they build the system, or if it just covers it?
My understanding is this is the design, this is what they expect, that will make it work. This is what I've been told. Beyond this, they're not gonna be able to do much more than that. This would be as much as that HVAC, or HVAC system would be able to do for you. This is, in my understanding, what they're gonna get in place.
Because they're forcing in the max.
Yeah.
That the units can turn over.
This dollar amount that we have, because we have a couple options. We can approve it and take it out of, bond funds since it is HVAC work. We could also take it, from our loan amount that we've talked about, where we can do that piece as well.
You talking about the time-based one, the 10-year one?
And I do feel like we're gonna need to use that as an option, because in order to get the portables and the other pieces that we're talking about, and some other things that the district needs to get, make all this stuff work, I think that's for us to discuss in the next meeting. For us to, we're trying to get all those numbers to you guys.
But for now, can't we approve that, come out of the bond fund? Or the general fund?
How would you make the recommendation?
You ultimately wanna put it in the time warrant?
Well, we don't know what we're gonna do with that.
We're not sure on that, so how would we
I would just recommend, I guess, like out of fund balance until,
So what?
until
then we can make that determination later.
we can determine if it's gonna come out of time warrant or bond funds. Yeah, I don't know about if you can, I feel like if you're gonna do it with bond funds, it needs to be stated up, like at the get-go. You can't take it and move it from 199 to 699.
Okay. Alright. So
But we can use a debt to repay general fund.
Right.
So what's your recommendation, Judge?
A new debt, not.
What's the best financially for us? To go from bond or to go from the time one?
I mean, either way, like, I would look to Mr. Bowling to see what else he is wanting to come out of the time warrant piece. You know, if that's gonna get too jam-packed that we need to put it in bond funds, but.
I think there's a lot of contingencies about going.
Well, we have the interest off of the bonds, but, I think taking it out of, basically saying taking it out of fund balance at this point and continuing
Refunding it
on
from the time warrant.
would be the best option. Because we're looking at taking that into that 10-year note to be able to pay for that piece.
Are we gonna need that for something else in the future then? Sorry. Cause we were talking about with the flooring and the engineering that's going on there. Are we gonna need that amount? I'm just saying, are we gonna need that amount? Cause I know you're maxed out at, I think, $1 million, right? So if we take the 150 out of our time warrant, is that gonna, I guess, prevent us in the future if we need to use it for something else?
It depends on what all that repair comes back at, but I don't see that repair is gonna come back in that large of an amount for us to have that issue. And we may have to dip into fund balance for something, but I don't, right now we're trying to use those two pockets before we go into a fund balance scenario.
Yeah, I think we get to the point that we need more, take that fund out at that point in time.
And if there's excess left over in the bond fund from interest and things like that, we could pay off that.
We got plenty of other projects.
Yeah, you got plenty of
Yeah, that's right. There's a laundry, we did a laundry list today of the things we're putting out to bid, so complicated situation of things we're doing, but I think this is the best option, is just taking it out of current fund balance with the option of us being able to use the, time warrant later to reimburse ourselves.
Make a motion to approve the HVA system repairs as proposed.
Second.
Hold on. Out of, for how much was it?
151,587.
That much? To come out of fund balance.
Second.
Oh, you have it. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
We've all been waiting for it.
Yeah. I'll meet with Mr. Flowers tomorrow. Okay, the next piece is the EPCNT interlocal agreement. This is what was needed for us to be able to get the, discounted price for the furniture that we ordered. And so we would like to join that purchasing co-op. And my understanding is, how much is it per year?
$100 per year.
$100 per year. So I recommend that we adopt the resolution to become a member of the co-op.
How much should we save with the co-op on this?
It's gonna be considerable.
Yeah, their savings on this co-op was even more than what we would get on buy board pricing.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Hold on. Okay. A motion by
Second.
James. So I have a question, and this is the document we need to sign, that's right here.
Yeah, and I have it printed out.
Okay, you see on first, I don't know that it matters, but effective date of January 1st, 2004.
That's because that was when it was negotiated, with the ordinance, the agreement that was, so what happens is they negotiate these prices within this co-op, and so that was the date that was
That was
negotiated.
established, okay. Anybody else? All those in favor? Okay.
We are bringing to the board tonight, FDA local with, some recommended changes for the board to consider. These changes, our original FDA local only allowed for transfer students, that were employees' children, or, if they were a senior or a junior and they moved and they could stay their senior year. We have allowed transfers outside of what policy stated. And so we're asking to grandfather those families in with the changes to this. So any families that were allowed transfers through the 24-25 school year and are in good standing, then that they would be grandfathered in until they graduate or until they don't meet our standards. And our standards are that you have to have passing grades, very minor discipline issues, and attendance. Attendance. So those are the three criteria that we look at. And so if, like, a student, let's say that they have 70% attendance and they failed all of their courses, again, there would have been meetings and things like that throughout the whole school year, but they would not meet the criteria to be a transfer student. But what we're asking with this policy change is for you to grandfather in the families that are currently in district as transfer students that do not meet the criteria of an employee or a senior that's out of district, and for us to allow them to be grandfathered in and finish out their school years in Maypearl as long as they meet the criteria.
This is just through the end of the year?
This is for us to grandfather these people that we've allowed in, and to make sure that they are secure to know that they can be in Maypearl until they graduate, and their siblings.
Gotcha.
So it's for
Their families.
current transfers that when they finish this school year, then they would be eligible for next year, but what we're getting into is for the last couple of years, at the lower grade levels, we kept it open for a while for like siblings of the older students that were, to kind of go back a little bit. We used to have a policy that was, if you've been in the district for 2 years or more, then they would allow you, and you left, then you could transfer back in. Then if you've been in the district 4 years or more, we did that piece. And we're at that point now where the transfer piece has been essentially any siblings of those students that were those kiddos that will be able to transfer, would be able to continue transferring, because you didn't want to bless their families and whatnot. We're at that point now where a lot of those families have come through and moved forward. We only have roughly between 60 or 70.
What we're asking for is for every transfer family and their siblings to be able to continue here, and for us not to have this side policy that if you've gone here 3 or 4 years that you can continue here. It will be everyone is grandfathered in that is a transfer student through this school year, and their siblings, and they have that security or comfort level that they know that they can finish and graduate from here as long as they've met the criteria. But we will no longer be doing transfers that don't meet our criteria, that don't meet the local policy. So everyone will be grandfathered in that is a transfer student. Their siblings will be grandfathered in. It will just be that we will not be grandfathering in other people next year unless they're an employee or a senior and they've moved. My other recommendation could be some districts do junior and senior year if you choose to do that. We have in policy that it would just be their senior year, but that's at the board's discretion. If they choose to say, if you've been here through your 9th and 10th grade year, juniors and seniors can stay, that would be at the board's decision to do that.
So I talked to Ms. Day for some time. She was very patient with me, and I appreciate that. So, and I had this question about, I have like a 3rd grader and an 8th grader, and then we have like a 3-year-old or 4-year-old that's about in kindergarten. For this policy, as long as they
have
don't
siblings.
move away and come back.
That's right. That's right.
Unenrolled kids,
Mhm.
as long as they stay with the same agreement, then that child will be allowed to kindergarten and go up through Maypearl. Does that make sense? That was my question.
And what Mr. Cooper just said, if a transfer person unenrolls, then they don't have the option to request a transfer again unless they move back into the district. Then it wouldn't be a transfer, but the only way we would re-enroll a person that was a transfer student and withdrew is if they moved into the district.
So, have we allowed new transfers?
Yes, we have.
Into the district?
Yes, we have.
Do we have a sidecar policy stating that we should do that?
We would like to follow local policy.
I'm just curious how that.
That's my question. How'd that happen?
Well, in our agreement form that we had that we brought to y'all, it had all that listed as far as that amount. We just didn't have it put into this policy piece, and so she's cleaning up in between of those two.
Well, but if I understood her right, we had new transfers come in, and we haven't been accepting transfers.
So
Our policy says we don't accept transfers, so we're trying
Were
to.
they transfers that weren't siblings of students?
Yes, that is the case. If they had, yes, sir, if they had gone here to school and they had gone here for 3 or 4 years, then the district was allowing them to stay if they moved. What we're saying is.
Yes, I understand that.
But that was not in our policy. And our policy says that the only transfers are district employees or seniors that were here their junior year. So we're asking to everyone that was a transfer, for those people to be grandfathered in and for us to follow policy.
Okay, so I thought, so kids that were here for several years and their parents moved, we allowed those to stay as transfers.
We did. It did not
So-
follow policy.
So my question is, to make sure I'm understanding you right, did we have new students who didn't fall into that, who we let transfer in?
that?
No,
'Cause
no.
that's what I understood.
No,
We
sir.
have- we
No,
followed
sir.
what you guys
We,
approved.
what,
Just didn't have-
what we've done, I mean, if.
So you're talking about kids that were already here,
We're
that
asking
have
to,
been
we're
here.
asking to grandfather those kids in.
and so their transfer is every year.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
They have to reapply every year.
okay, I just wanna make sure I
Yes, sir.
understand correctly, okay.
I
But
just,
going forward, if you move out of the district, you have until the end of that semester.
That's right.
so,
And that's actually been in policy. The end of the semester has been in policy. That they could stay through the end of the semester. So that's not a change. They've just moved where it is in policy.
where does it talk about the sibling part? That's the only thing I'm.
All families, we have said all families and siblings. And that's in our regs is where that is.
It's under a reg. Okay.
So we're just requesting that we clean up our policy to align with our practices and for, the board to consider.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
On the, whether they've completed their sophomore year step, that's an option we have.
That's an option, yes, sir.
Or maybe, they do it out in the middle of that early part of the junior year.
Right. If you did, the, 10th grade option, then if the parents, then that would allow juniors or seniors to stay in, so that's at your decision. Right now, the way we have it is if they finish their 11th grade year, then if their families move, they can stay for their senior year.
Off the top of your head, do we have one that move like at the end of their sophomore year going, that want to finish that?
I don't have that data, I couldn't tell you that, I don't know.
And then, is there been any issues versus remaining at the semester versus remaining throughout the calendar year? Say somebody moves out they bought a house in Paris or something, and they provide their own transportation, like after the Thanksgiving break, they want their kids, technically, after Thanksgiving, like Christmas, they have to move out, right?
Right,
We see a lot of requests to stay there.
No,
We don't.
do not.
But this would allow them, if they moved in November, to stay all the way through that year and stay in Maypearl ISD.
No, this would not. This would not. This only allows the people that are currently transfer students to be grandfathered in.
Okay, not the new ones.
No,
Gotcha.
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
So from this point forward, if we approve this, if you move, then you are no longer a student at the end of the semester, correct?
That's correct.
District.
And our policy has said all along that if they move, they were here through the end of the semester. That's what your local policy has stated.
But our regs is what we're doing. We follow two different things. We need our policy to match.
I noticed there's some changes in, the original one, it says superintendent board designee.
That's moved down to, they've moved different things around. There were some duplicated, and then there were some things such as, that we don't charge a fee, so the tuition part was completely taken out. That was in our original policy.
You know why they took the designee out? Some years they take it out, some years they take
Sometimes
it
they
back in. I
take
don't
it.
really understand.
I
why
don't know either. They move, I mean, the superintendent always has the option to have a designee for anything, but I couldn't tell you, Mr. Cooper. I know that, this came from TASB policy, and so they make changes based on, legal issues from other districts and things like that. So these were the suggested moves where they place different things.
So with this being published, is there, if we decide to publish this, is there an education piece with the students that could be facing this, that have been here the whole time? That have moved out, you see what I mean? You've moved away?
Well, if they're here right now through the end of the
You're
school
good.
year, they're
Okay,
in here. They're in here. And then we have an agreement that we have the parents sign every year with the information, and we'll have that agreement and still continue with that, so that there should not be any questions about what the criteria to remain as a transfer student would be.
Do we know where we got off kilter between policy and regs?
I don't know for sure, but that's what, as we're looking at things, we're trying to make sure that we're cleaning up, if we've got some practices to make sure they're in alignment with our policy.
We're almost at that point. It's been 10 years since we had TASB do an audit of all of our policies. And so next year, we're actually slated for that to happen. So they'll go through all of our policies and clean up any areas where we have issues.
So we're asking for the board to approve the updated policy presented from TASB for FDA.
I got a question. We have a parent now, I've got an email, that withdrew their kid.
This is that policy.
Not that policy? All right.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the FDA local policy with the exception of completed the 10th grade. Everything else is the same.
I like the 10th grade too.
I agree too. I second that.
Anybody else, any more discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
So they'll be allowed to do their junior and senior.
Yes, correct.
Love it.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Day.
Thank you.
Next time, I'm gonna pass out to you our current strategic plan. And we have been given an opportunity, just wanted to see if you guys are interested in this. I believe you have a copy of this document, front and back, Texas Strategic Leadership. This is a program that is paid for by TDA, but it's ran through Region 10, and they have individuals that work at Region 10 that would support this. And basically what they would do is come in and work with us as far as our strategic plan. They would look at student outcomes, experiences, align the campus systems, and align district systems. And you can read through this, but there's a considerable amount of work. It's a 2-year process. All of it's paid for through them. Typically, when you do a strategic plan as a district, it's low end about $5,000. That's a very low end, but it's about $10,000 or more to come up with that. Our strategic plan, we tweaked this plan that we currently have was actually tweaked a couple of years ago to the scorecard that we have. If we're happy with that, that's fine. I just wanted that we do have a lot of new board members, and we'll have newer board members coming on. This might be a good time for that process to take place so that you guys are involved in what the strategic plan is, because you guys will be able to work within this process for the next year. So if you go over to the back side, here it says year 1 and year 2. Year 1, there's the landscape analysis, the focus solutions, student outcome goals, and then priorities and initiatives. And then year 2 is more of the monitoring piece. There's a district level data meetings, inputs, outputs. They come out, they work with our administrators and work with you guys as well to some degree. And for the most part, it's done with the district so that we can realign. It's all aligned with the effective district framework, which is what we use basically whenever the school has issues and they have low level scores. That is the framework that is used. So like in the middle school, for instance, we added on an additional couple of years. We asked for that, we were part of a grant, and so they worked with us at the middle school, and that's the framework that they utilize. But with all of that to say, it is completely up to you guys. My understanding is there's some requirements for me. I think I have to go to a thing in San Antonio they pay for, but it's a training. I'm not sure if it's a day or 2 days or whatever, but there's also additional things that we would bring back for our folks to work through, and they would basically go through and support our principals and our administrators in getting all that put together. But and they would involve different, pieces. And when they're done with this, the product that they finish up with is, obviously, you have your strategic plan, but they also, they've shown me like the books that they will have, that's available to hand out, and it goes over all the different pieces and all the things that they've done and everyone that's involved in the process. So, it's a good opportunity. They came to us and asked if we would like to be a part of it, because they have some openings in their grant, and asked if we would be willing to do that. And I told them that I would ask you guys, before I would give them an answer.
So this is a grant funded?
It's grant funded through TA. So this is a TA initiative. They pay Region 10, and they've trained the folks that work at Region 10 to provide these services. TA is involved to some degree because they're part of the initiative. But my understanding is most all of this work is done purely through Region 10.
Do they, I know that the planning process, do they actually come out hands-on? Okay.
They'll be out.
This is just for a 2-year program?
It's a 2-year program, and then they hand off the strategic plan to us, and we move on from there. Robin Bayer is the lady that has been coming out. She came out and visited with me, kind of went over this, and then she also their team would come out and work with our principals and our directors on how this would be developed. Now, the strategic plan, if we like what we have, we want to continue moving forward with this plan. I just, in my thought process, you guys, we have some newer members, we're gonna have a few more new. I didn't know if this might not be a good time for everyone to feel more ownership of the plan, and be a part of that process.
Something we need to act on now, or wait till we got new board members?
I need to let her know as soon as the problem. We gotta get moving forward on it.
I do like the system portion of it. I think that would be a good piece for our strategic plan.
I think it's a good time to reevaluate anyway. Just make sure that we're in line with what we want to do and where we go.
Can't imagine it hurting us. It only makes it better.
The only thing, do you have a question, is the reporting requirements on the grant, is it pretty labor, so we're gonna have to hire more staff, or they take care of most of it?
My understanding in all of these pieces is that they do most of that work. They pull the data, they come in and share with us what you.
And I mean, we can confirm that normally with regional, with the service centers, when there's a grant, that usually they manage the grant part. We get the benefit of it, and we can follow up on that.
What are they looking to? Because usually at the end of a grant, you're trying to look at some long-term.
This is an initiative by TA. TA is basically pushing out different initiatives. So a lot of smaller districts cannot afford to have a strategic plan. We have had one, but they've not. There's a lot of them that do not, or they have a quality one, and so they're basically funding the 2-year program to allow districts to go out and do this is what's best practices, and then create one. And so, like I said, this is typically, I mean, I think the one that we did, and I'm talking about way back then, it was 10,000, so it's probably more than that now. To tweak the one that we have, which they just took what we had and just kind of changed some things around, was $5,000 there. So it's a very expensive process, because you're talking about several people that are involved, looking at a number of things, and working with our, they'll work with us, they'll work with administrators, and then they'll also I just feel like, you guys evaluate off of this, everything we do is off of this plan, right? I feel like y'all should have a little bit more ownership, because this has been around for a while, and I'm not saying it's bad, it's just, there may be some things for us to tweak, there may be some things that they go, no, this is good, but maybe look at it from this angle, or look at it from that angle, so I can't see, like I said, I can't see how that would hurt.
So what does this motion look like?
Just to prove that we will utilize the Texas Strategic Leadership Program.
I'll make a motion that we use the Texas Strategic Leadership Program as presented.
There you go, second.
discussion? All in favor? Closed session.
Stay. I'm sure he's not. Was there anything that you need to
Yes, sir.
discuss in both?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll have a closed session. No closed session? No action, sir? Meeting adjourned.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's gotta be.